A different perspective, a new insight into life, a nugget of positivity and a hidden truth, and maybe an amusement for you. Welcome to From My Standpoint, a twice-a-month podcast with your host, Josh C. Jones.
Hey, I appreciate you tuning in again to From My Standpoint. I'm your host, Josh C. Jones. If this is your first time listening, then I thank you for tuning in. I really, really do. And if it's not, well, thank you for coming back. I do appreciate it. And do not forget that if you prefer to read, I suggest you check out the show notes at fromtheirstandpoint.com. That's from, T-H-E-I-R, standpoint.com, where I will sometimes add links and some other information that may not make it into the podcast. So yeah, this one is the Great Wisdoms of number 2.
Can we just get right into the topic this time, please?
Okay. I guess, sure, since you asked nicely, random voice of questions, we will. So, let us get into the show and talk about the great wisdom of A.A. Milne and his characters in Winnie the Pooh. That is correct. I'm going back to them again. And so in this first one, we have Eeyore. Eeyore saying, "It never hurts to keep looking for sunshine." And yes, you get to hear me try to do the voices. And so even the most disillusioned and depressed being in the 100-Acre Woods understands the importance of trying to stay positive. Even though he seems to fail at it a lot, he understands that it's important to try to stay positive. This is a theme I seem to be speaking of in most shows, and so I hope you picked up on that and you're trying to look at the positive and find the positive no matter what's going on in the world around you. Now, life will not always be nice. Yeah, let me say that again. Life will not always be nice. Life will not always play fair. Life may even seem like a journey we do not wish to embark on sometimes. That's life. It's not always fair, not always equal. There will be doom and gloom and dark days, and just as there will be joy and peace and bright days. Have you ever noticed that the darkness always flees when we find a light? Yep. Yeah, that it does. Random voice of common sense. That it does. You know, and that makes me think of the saying, get it right here, you often find what you are looking for. You often find what you are looking for. If you look for darkness and negativity, you will see darkness and negativity. If you look for the light and positivity, you will see the light and positivity. Such as, if you look for offenses, you're always going to find something to be offended by. It's how it is. However, though, life will try to break us at some point. Well, maybe not life itself, really, but we like to call it life. But really, it's the choices we make and the paths that we choose, that may not always be what we expected or hoped for in the end. And that's what we usually say is, life broke me down. It's like, if you think about it, a lot of times it's your choices that have been built up over a period of time that have caused you to get to that point. Anyway, if we can remember the wise saying from the seemingly always pessimistic and depressed donkey named Eeyore, that it never hurts to keep looking for sunshine, then, maybe we too can keep pushing forward in the face of adversity and keep searching for our success. The bright sunshine of hope that is there, somewhere in each of our lives. It is often knocking on our door if we would just open it. I'm sure we can find it if we just keep looking. So look for the positive. And here we go. Me trying Winnie the Pooh. How lucky I am to have something that makes saying goodbye so hard.
Were you even trying to do a voice?
Yeah, I was trying random voice of questions. Anyway, saying goodbye is never easy. As the saying people like to throw around goes, life is short.
Life is actually the longest thing anyone has.
Yep, that is very, very true, Random Voice of Reason. As Random Voice of Reason just said, life is the longest thing anyone has. But it also feels so short sometimes. I mean, everything on this earth is temporary. Our time in school, our time at a workplace, our time playing a sport, our time performing in a play or a film, our time with friends, our time with loved ones. It is all temporary. It can all feel fleeting sometimes. I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is. That's the reality of it. But it doesn't have to be all sad. As with most everything, I can recall many, many moments of having to say goodbye that I could speak of here. And some of those moments are gut-wrenching sad. Others are so sad that looking back upon them, I might just laugh at the reason for their sadness. As we grow older, we tend to realize that some things that, we once perceived as so sad and devastating to us in our lives were really very, very small and inconsequential. That's a part of growing up. Well, one that now seems small and inconsequential was actually felt emotionally distressful at that time. And yet, even in that negative, there was still a sunshine to be found. It turned out to be a great positive learning moment for my life. Now, I remember my first year of being a part of the theater program at my college. It felt great, like really, really great to be a part of this fantastic show and to be in charge of the props and the backstage. That was really my first time working in the theater and stuff, and they put me in charge of the props and the backstage area, which, awesome, Who doesn't like to be in charge sometimes? Anyway, the friendships made on one particular play and, the time we spent together, it was enjoyable, it was fun. We spent weeks, it might have been a few months actually, come to think of it, like 3 months, something like that. But we spent a lot of time together learning, practicing, preparing, and performing. And we even took the show on the road to a week-long theater competition. So much time spent together on just one project. So much time. It was fun. And then, when it was over, and the buses had returned to the campus, everyone got off the buses, went to their cars, and went their separate ways. It was over. Just like that. The show, the people, the time, it was gone. I was the last one left, standing all alone in a desolate parking lot. I mean, it was over in a snap, like that. It was a depressing moment, just standing there all alone, knowing everything you worked on for months was done. It's gone. The time has passed. It was like I was lost with no roadmap for life. I mean, what I had put my time and effort into for what felt like such a long, long, long time was in one instant gone. I felt like my life had hit a brick wall and there was nothing for me, nothing left there for me. all the friends that I made and all the fun and joy in my life because of that production was instantly ripped away by time. Interestingly, though, this same feeling would befall me on multiple productions in both theater and film throughout my time performing and doing productions on both theater and film. And yet, it would be less and less devastating each time. As I grew up and I realized the importance of that saying of Pooh, of being so lucky that I had something, that made saying goodbye so hard. It could have been a depressing time, for me in my life, if I chose to live in that one moment, if I chose to replay that one moment over and over and over and over in my mind. But, as in all things, there is a positive if we choose to find it and if we choose to move on. And just as Winnie the Pooh says, how lucky I am to have something that makes saying goodbye so hard. And then here we have Piglet. If it weren't for... Oh yeah, I totally botched that one, so I'm just going to read it. If you weren't you, then we'd all be a bit less we. And that sucks too, because I had practiced and practiced that one and I had it and I just blew it. When the moment counted, I just blew it. Oh well, what are you going to do? We're going to move on, right? And learn from it and realize I need more practice. Anyway, if you weren't you, then we'd all be a little less we. You are you, and I am me. We are each unique. For the differences we see make each of us antique.
Did you write that poem?
Why, yes, I did. Thank you for asking, Random Voice of Questions. Piglet was really onto something here. I mean, like he says, if you weren't you, then we'd all be a bit less we. So you need to be you. Each of us has our weaknesses and strengths, our quirks and conformity, and our variations and our individual identity. I mean, we are all, I believe, brothers and sisters and made in the image of God, but we each have our own, like I said, strengths and weaknesses, quirks and variations. So if you and I actually had the same strengths, the same thoughts, the same quirks, the same opinions, the same everything, then there wouldn't be a you and I. There would only be a me, a single person, one single identity. If we cancel or eliminate everything that does not fit our opinion, likes, thoughts, perceptions, etc., then we would only be left with I. I. The self-centered and selfish pronoun. That makes me think actually of this quote from Chadwick Boseman. I think I said the name right. Chadwick Boseman. And the quote is, "The only difference between a hero and the villain is that the villain chooses to use that power in a way that is selfish and hurts other people." The selfish I. Eliminate all those that don't think, act, speak, believe, or behave as you do. I think we should embrace our differences that make each of us a unique creation.
Does that mean we should ignore our culture or national identity?
No. No. Don't get me wrong here, Random Voice of Questions. Not at all. I mean, we can still have a unified cultural or national identity and a heritage that we can embrace and cherish. a unified heritage, such as, like where I live and where I was born, our American heritage. If you understand the true history and the true context, you would really, 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 really respect and like our American heritage. But we should not try to be molded and conformed into one with this world. Because doing so, it only diminishes your unique creation and it dilutes your character, thus altering your idea of success and happiness. Because without our unique designs, flaws, quirks, strengths, opinions, perceptions, weaknesses, etc., we would, as Piglet states, be a bit less we. And so here's Winnie the Pooh again. And I think I did okay the first time, but fingers crossed here. One of the advantages of being disorganized is that one is always having surprising discoveries. And boy, oh boy, I practiced and practiced these until I had them where I thought I had them down and I could do this. And again, when the moment came, whew, that did not come out right. So I'm going to read that again. But again, you just got to keep moving and learn from it. So one of the advantages of being disorganized is that one is always having surprising discoveries. And I really, really do like this one from Winnie the Pooh, because I do try to stay organized, and sometimes I do think I am. But in reality, my desk and office and room tend to resemble that of, I guess I'd say my mother's. There's papers everywhere. Stacks are usually pushed together. There's random items displayed about in a seemingly random design. I'll have scratch notes with random and sometimes half thoughts scribbled on them. And every once in a while, a cold cup of either tea or coffee can be found on the top of my desk with little memory of when exactly I made it that day. And did I even make it that day? Sometimes I don't even know. I don't know when it got there. Anyway, I should note that though, at work and outside of my own personal hobbies and home office, I am actually a very organized person. My brother, on the other hand, he's more like my dad was. They both had everything neatly organized and labeled, and it was easy for them to find whatever they needed. It was awesome how they did that. Granted, though, those of us like my mom and I can find what we need, though it may not be as quick, and it would definitely require us to find it in what other people perceive as a mess. But it works for us. And it also allows for, as Pooh stated, surprising discoveries. Because I remember sifting through a stack of random papers I had just thrown into a plastic bin a long time ago, and I found a manila folder in there as well with two great and surprising discoveries. One was my poetry, and the other was my prayer outlines from a speech class a long time ago. And these were absolutely great and surprising discoveries because I was actually able to redo them some and use them for 2 separate podcast episodes. And the prayer one has already been recorded and it's already up there for you to watch. The poetry one is in the queue for the future. But, as Pooh so wisely put it, one of the advantages of being disorganized is that one is always having surprising discoveries. And that was a surprising discovery. Don't forget to check out the other great shows at FromTheirStandpoint.com. That's from THEIR, standpoint.com. And if you even slightly liked what you've heard in these podcasts, then please rate, review, and share. And if you have not yet subscribed, then I encourage you to subscribe to From My Standpoint to ensure you receive a reminder when new episodes are released. You can follow me on Facebook at FM Standpoint, on Instagram at From My Standpoint, or visit the website www.fromtheirstandpoint, that's from THEIR standpoint.com, and click on my show, From My Standpoint. And now, what you've all been waiting for, it's the wisdom of Dad Joke. Life can be our most wondrous and amazing journey, if we choose to let it. If we can try to stay positive, cherish the time we have and memories we've made, and make good with our quirks and uniqueness, and, be willing to open our eyes to surprising discoveries, all while being respectful, of course, then we can enjoy this amazing journey that is called life. Now, I don't know about you, but I would rather be a service of both quality and good atmosphere, and not be like the restaurant on the moon. Good food, but no atmosphere.
This has been From My Standpoint, a podcast to find a nugget of positivity and a hidden truth, encouraging and enlightening insight, entertaining a new perspective, and providing an amusement for you. We hope you were entertained, encouraged, enlightened, and enjoyed the show.